If monogamy is so natural, why does it feel so unnatural to so many? Or maybe the problem isn't monogamy, it's who we become when we fear freedom. This is Opposing Reason. Today's confrontation: is monogamy natural or just a social invention? On one side, the Darwinian, he sees monogamy as a cage, a socio-cultural leash forged to restrain instincts that evolution never intended to be tamed. On the other side, the devoted, she believes monogamy is not repression, but transcendence. Not the denial of our primal nature, but its intelligent redirection. This isn't about who you love, it's about how you believe love should be lived. We'll explore 7 brutal questions, each one a test of your loyalty to biology or to belief. Question 1. If monogamy is natural, why does it require constant effort?
Because anything that must be maintained is not natural, it is forced. Do you need to constantly remind your lungs to breathe? No, because breathing is natural, but fidelity? That demands vigilance, suppression, ritual, guilt, fear. That's not instinct. That's indoctrination. Monogamy is a behavioral straitjacket society forces over the wild machinery of evolution. In our deepest code, we are not creatures of commitment, we are creatures of reproduction. Nature rewards variety. Genetic diversity is not a cultural idea, it's a biological mandate. We've romanticized discipline, but the truth is brutal. We struggle with monogamy not because we're flawed, but because the model is, it wasn't made to fit our brains, it was made to stabilize civilizations. Plato didn't design monogamy, priests and politicians did. They saw a pattern of chaos, and they caged it in contracts. That cage is what you now call love, a 30-year mortgage with a ring. We effort because we resist what we really are. And that effort, ironically, proves the lie.
Effort doesn't mean unnatural. What's natural is often primitive. So what?
Anger is natural. Does that mean violence should be easy? Hunger is natural. Should gluttony be celebrated?
We are not only products of biology, we are creatures of aspiration. To love one and only one is not a denial of instinct.
It is a declaration of depth. Depth always requires effort.
Monogamy isn't easy, it's meaningful. We don't struggle because it's fake. We struggle because it demands growth.
And growth, by definition, is friction against what came before. Oscar Wilde once wrote, "The mystery of love is greater than the mystery of death."
That mystery takes work, but not because it's false, because it's real and rare and worth preserving. The effort proves its value.
The challenge reveals the beauty. Monogamy isn't natural, it's transcendent. And transcendence has always been a war against gravity.
Question 2. Do other species practice monogamy, or are we the only ones pretending?
Let's be clear, the animal kingdom is not a Hallmark movie. Of the thousands of mammal species, less than 5% exhibit any form of monogamy. Even among birds, who often mate for life, genetic testing reveals a secret. They stray often and deliberately. Loyalty in ritual doesn't equal loyalty in biology. Humans aren't unique because we're monogamous. We're unique because we pretend to be and punish ourselves when we fail. The myth that other animals do it too is a comfort lie. Penguins, wolves, swans, yes, they pair. But fidelity is not enforced. There are no ceremonies, no shame, no divorce courts in the wild. When we hold up animals as moral compasses, we cherry-pick data. We ignore bonobos who use sex as a social tool indiscriminately. We ignore chimpanzees, our closest relatives, whose societies are saturated with competition and promiscuity. Why? Because truth threatens comfort, and comfort sells. Monogamy isn't a reflection of biology, it's a distortion of it. Wrapped in religious guilt and societal reward, animals don't pretend, only we do.
Animals don't write poetry either, or compose sonatas. Should we abandon that too because tigers don't? To be human is to defy instinct, not obey it. The fact that so few animals practice monogamy doesn't prove it's wrong. It proves it's rare. And rarity often is the mark of progress.
Yes, nature is promiscuous, but so is chaos.
We don't build civilization by copying instincts. We build it by mastering them. The devoted wolf, the loyal penguin, they may be outliers in the animal world, but so are saints in the human world. Their rarity doesn't make them less noble. It makes them aspirational. Besides, love, real love, has always been an act of rebellion. It's a choice to anchor yourself in a drifting world.
Not because you must, but because you dare.
We are not pretending. We are evolving. And monogamy is not a costume. It's a commitment to become more than our animal code.
Question 3. Is lifelong loyalty realistic or just romantic propaganda?
Lifelong loyalty? Sounds noble until you remember how often people cheat, leave, lie, or stay dead inside. The statistics don't lie. Over 50% of marriages end. And of the ones that don't, many are cemeteries with rings. We mistake duration for devotion, but staying isn't always loving. Sometimes it's just fear with a routine. This idea that we're meant to pair off for half a century was never biological, it was economic. In pre-industrial societies, people didn't live long enough to test forever. And once property laws and inheritance systems formed, monogamy became not sacred, but strategic. Propaganda doesn't need to be false to be dangerous. It just needs to create guilt around alternatives. We tell people that anything short of lifelong loyalty is failure, but we never ask if that model fits human evolution. Even Kant, champion of duty, warned against turning humans into ends. Yet that's what monogamy often becomes, a means to preserve structure, not joy. We cling to lifelong loyalty like it's morality, but it might just be mortality, dressed in denial.
Loyalty is not about perfection, it's about presence.
It's about saying, even when you're not easy to love, I'm still here. That is not propaganda. It is power.
Yes, people fail.
That doesn't make the ideal invalid. It makes it human. If anything, the imperfection makes loyalty more sacred, not less.
Because it means someone chose you again and again, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Romantic propaganda?
No. Romance is the soul's protest against pragmatism, and loyalty is its battleground. To love someone through decades is not naive. It's revolutionary. In a world that rewards novelty, loyalty is rebellion. It's not about chains, it's about roots. Propaganda tells you what to feel. But loyalty, true loyalty, tells you what you're willing to fight for. Realism without romance isn't truth, it's surrender.
Question 4. Does monogamy suppress desire or refine it?
Suppress it, obviously. Monogamy doesn't nurture desire, it polices it. It asks a flame to burn forever, inside a box with no oxygen. We're told to resist temptation, ignore attraction, pretend the body obeys vows the mind wrote years ago. Desire isn't designed for permanence. It's designed for movement, for discovery, for a surprise. Every major philosophical system, from Nietzsche to Freud, acknowledges this. Desire thrives on novelty, not repetition. Monogamy doesn't refine desire, it censors it. We call it loyalty, but what we often mean is guilt, fear, suppression. It's not erotic to be watched, it's prison. And worst of all, we moralize this deadening. We tell people that their boredom is a sign of weakness, instead of seeing it as a symptom of a model that was never made to last. Desire is wild. Trying to own it kills it.
You don't kill desire with commitment. You focus it, you sharpen it. Like a river through a canyon, its force increases, not despite the walls, but because of them.
Monogamy doesn't remove temptation, it teaches you to transform it.
To turn distraction into devotion. Oscar Wilde said, the only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it.
But love says, The only way to master temptation is to rise above it.
Desire isn't just about touch, it's about attention.
And in a world of infinite options, to return again and again to one person, to make them new, not because they changed, but because you did, that's not repression, that's artistry.
We don't refine desire by running from it. We refine it by deepening it. Monogamy is not starvation, it's selection.
A sacred curation, not a denial. And anything curated has more value than anything consumed at random.
Question 5. Is jealousy a natural part of love, or a byproduct of possession?
Jealousy is biological. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. Evolution hardwired it into us to protect access to mates and ensure reproductive success. It's not about love. It's about control, certainty, survival. In ancient tribes, the jealous male had better odds of keeping his genes in the pool. The indifferent male replaced. Jealousy kept rivals away, kept mates close, kept offspring with a provider. That's not poetry, that's game theory. We pretend jealousy is toxic only because we've rebranded relationships as spiritual bonds, when in fact they've always been territory. Monogamy and jealousy are twins. To claim one without invoking the other is wishful thinking. If you believe in monogamy, you're already playing the jealousy game, whether you admit it or not. And here's the irony. The more we suppress it, the more power it has. Because buried instincts rot but never die.
Jealousy is fear wearing a crown.
It pretends to protect love, but in truth, it poisons it. Love says, I choose you.
Jealousy says,
You're mine.
there's a difference. One frees.
The other cages.
Yes, jealousy is ancient, but so is disease. Age alone doesn't make something wise. We've evolved beyond public executions and arranged marriages.
Why glorify emotional violence?
The poet Khalil Gibran wrote, "Let there be spaces in your togetherness. That's not disloyalty, that's dignity.
Love is not surveillance. It's trust. Possession breeds paranoia.
Jealousy doesn't prove you care. It proves you fear.
And fear is no foundation for intimacy, only control.
Real love asks for presence, not permission. And if you need to cage someone to keep them, you never had them to begin with."
Question 6. Would monogamy exist without religion and law?
Without religion and law? No. Monogamy would collapse under the weight of its own demands. It is not sustained by love. It's enforced by shame, contracts, and holy threats. Historically, monogamy was less about morality and more about managing lineage. Who owns what? Who inherits what? Religions institutionalized it. Governments legislated it. And culture romanticized it, but only after it was made mandatory. Remove the legal framework, the tax benefits, the moral branding, and what remains? A fragile fantasy trying to survive in the jungle of desire. Animals don't swear oaths. They don't sign prenups. And yet we need entire industries to keep people loyal. Why? Because monogamy isn't natural, it's structured. If religion hadn't sanctified it, and law hadn't enforced it, monogamy might be nothing more than a historical curiosity, a failed experiment in idealism.
The law didn't invent love.
And religion didn't write romance. They may have scaffolded monogamy, but they didn't give it soul.
Monogamy existed long before marriage licenses and moral codes. Every time a human chose one person and said, "You," not because I must, but because I want.
That was monogamy in its purest form. Laws codify, but they don't create. They react to the human hunger for order, meaning, stability. And love, real love, has always sought depth over variety.
In Rainer Maria Roca's words,
love consists in this, that two solitudes protect and touch and greet each other.
no law can fabricate that.
And no religion can enforce it.
Even in a world without commandments or contracts, two people would still look across the fire and say, "I choose you again."
Not because God demands it,
but because the heart does.
Question 7. Is polyamory the future, or just a fashionable rebellion?
Polyamory isn't the future. It's a return to what we were before we were programmed. Before we were told that one person must meet every need, hold every secret, carry every storm. Polyamory is not a rebellion, it's a release. The future doesn't look like restriction. It looks like expansion of connection, of honesty, of structure built around truth instead of taboo. What scares people about polyamory isn't the sex. It's the challenge to ownership. The idea that love can exist without possession feels blasphemous because we've confused exclusivity with meaning. But ask yourself, why is loving more than one considered a threat? Because it fractures the illusion that love must be scarce to be real. The Darwinian sees no danger in polyamory, only potential. A system where honesty replaces repression, and desire doesn't need to wear a mask of guilt. The future belongs to those unafraid of its complexity.
Not every rebellion is evolution. Some are just noise dressed in novelty. Polyamory promises freedom, but often delivers fracture. Yes, monogamy is hard, but effort doesn't mean error. And just because polyamory is new to mainstream doesn't make it wise.
Love isn't about multiplying bodies. It's about multiplying depth. And depth requires focus, attention, energy, time. Divided endlessly, these become diluted.
Polyamory may work for some, no judgment. But let's not pretend it's the inevitable future. That's not progress. It's projection. In every era, love needs a compass, not a buffet. And monogamy, while imperfect, is still the clearest direction many hearts can take. The future isn't about doing more. It's about choosing better.
So, is monogamy natural, or a social invention? Perhaps the wrong question isn't what monogamy is, but who we become when we choose to believe in it or not. Monogamy, whether natural or not, demands something rare in this era. A confrontation with the self. Because in a world screaming more, now, faster, choosing one, fully, faithfully, consciously, is the most radical act of all. And rejecting it isn't sin, it's just a different strategy. So, what do you believe? Is loyalty liberation or limitation? Is desire sharpened by focus or dulled by repetition? Is your heart wired for one, or simply wired for wonder? Tell us in the comments. But more than that, tell yourself.